Yeah, and that kind of probably takes us into the next product to talk about, or to really discuss, is protein. So protein is something I'm really passionate about, and I know I talk to my clients a lot about the benefits of protein and how important it is to make sure that you are having enough. And I know for myself personally, and it's each to their own in terms of supplementing and things like that, but I know for myself personally, even to make sure that I was getting enough protein into my body without going over excessively with carbohydrates and fats was actually quite hard to hit that target that your body required. And so I do find, for me, it's a good way to make sure that I'm getting adequate protein into my body, and really good quality protein too, because there are different types that get absorbed and taken into the body. And so I personally love the under natured whey protein, but the plant proteins and different things like that can be really beneficial as well. But I think it's so important. And talking about the crepey skin and things like that, protein is so important for so many different roles in the body, it's the building blocks of every single cell. So obviously if we don't have enough of the essential amino acids, which are the building blocks of proteins coming into the body, well then obviously the cell structure can't be as good as what it could be. And it does have lots of other roles as well. But in saying that, one thing I actually noticed when I started supplementing was that I felt like I actually increased a little bit of more muscle mass without actually training quite as intensively. And I personally think that was from just having that good quality protein. So I guess one thing that does happen when people age, and generally it's just because sometimes they don't eat as much, they do say, as people get older, like their nutrition amounts they take in get less, their activity levels are less, which often leads to sarcopenia, which is the reduction in muscle mass. So if you can imagine the muscle getting smaller, well then that leads to the skin that was then filled becoming a lot more wrinkly and small. So I guess not only just having the skin, but having the nutrition to maintain that muscle can be really beneficial. But in saying that, protein's also involved in creating our skin cells and creating every single cell in the body, which is really quite incredible.
My understanding of protein, I guess most people would think it's all to do with bodybuilding and exercise, and I actually didn't realize it's actually more important for healthy aging as well. And as you pointed out, because you need a certain amount of protein for your whole body and the cells to function, which makes absolute sense. And you do sort of see when people get older, and if they look like, we ask them about diet and stuff like that, and if they're not getting enough protein, you almost sort of see all that sort of aging and the skin sort of hanging on no muscle. And they will be the people that complaining that they're always carrying excessive fat, but although they look really slim overall, isn't it? So
that's definitely it. And I guess protein, it has lots of different roles in the body, but also in terms of muscle mass, is the more muscle mass you have, and protein also takes more energy to break down. So usually it's more thermogenic and increases the metabolic rate, but also maintaining that quality muscle mass enhances your metabolism as well. So not only when people eat less protein, they don't have the thermogenic effect of it, but then those that also lose the muscle mass, they're not creating, their metabolic rate isn't as high. So then if they're still having roughly those extra calories coming in, the body then ends up storing them as fat. So that's where you do get those sort of skinny bodies, but then like the skinny muscle, but then you have the fat sitting over the top.
In the problem areas. Yeah,
exactly. So protein has a lot of roles. It plays so many different roles in the body. So so many people think, protein shakes are just for building muscle, or they're just a meal supplement or things like that. But it's definitely not. And you get so much more, like I know under natured whey protein is one of the highest biological value type in terms of what you absorb compared to what you take in. Whereas sometimes other proteins that you take in, your body doesn't absorb nearly as much of it. So by having something like that, you're actually getting the highest amount of quality protein into the body, so that it can have the most impact on all the cells. Even interestingly enough, by a lot of people, when they actually start taking quality protein in, will start to notice detox detoxification effects. And that's because if you think about it, the body is going to allocate protein to where it needs to go first. So obviously it's going to worry about making sure that your heart's beating, making sure that you can breathe, making sure your digestive system, but it's not going to go to the other areas that aren't as important, such as like our skin and different areas like that, in terms of looking more healthier, if there's not an abundance of it, because it's going to focus on survival first. So you need to make sure that your body's got enough for survival, and then there's that extra for it to go, oh, we can improve the skin and the nails and the different external parts of the body that aren't quite as essential. But if it's pulling bits and pieces for just the survival, they're the least of the body's worry. So I find, some people do find when they start having quality protein that they do get a little bit of detox, because the body's actually going, right, I've got extra protein here, we can actually enhance and build, because it needs 3 specific amino acids in order to enhance the detoxification. And so it's suddenly like, wow, we've got enough here that we can actually do this, and it will start detoxification of the cells. So I find that really intriguing. And that probably is an indication that people haven't been having enough protein before, if they do get that detox effect, because it's like the body is like, oh, finally,
I've got more to do with. So you're saying that, I mean, most of the time we're just getting enough just to do the basic functions, but it's not actually enough to veer into other areas that we could benefit from.
Yeah, definitely. And so it's like the body's sort of like going, yay, I can do what I've been wanting to do. So, I mean, obviously we also need the vitamins and the different minerals. I mean, it all works well together. But particularly in that example that I was talking about, it is actually 3 specific amino acids that create glutathione, which creates the detoxification. So I guess the other thing I was just thinking of then also, which is a particular benefit of undernatured whey protein, is that it hasn't been heated to a high level. So you actually get the benefits of dipeptides and tripeptides that haven't been broken down. And interestingly enough, they do have benefits of being absorbed into the body still in those actual molecules. And there are some of them, one of them in particular, a tripeptide that actually helps with endothelial health and softening of the blood vessels and allowing ongoing flow much easier. So there's interesting health effects of and benefits of that as well. So I find all that sort of stuff really intriguing, because it does really help us in other ways, whereas we're all thinking, oh, we're just having protein for energy and build muscle or post-workout, whereas really you can be taking it in and helping your cardiovascular health and helping so many different parts of your body that you just don't even realize.
So just say that again. So the protein that you mentioned was
the undernatured whey protein.
Undernatured whey protein.
Yeah.
So you think that's the best type of protein to supplement with?
So whey protein is the sort that the body will absorb more so than any other type. It's got the highest biological value. When it's been denatured, it's been heated to a specific level, and then all the different amino acids have been broken down into their separate ones. With the undenatured, it's actually put through a fine mist. It's not heated to a really high temperature, which allows some of the peptides to stay bonded. So they're not actually broken down into their individual. And there has been some science and research that have indicated the body will absorb them still as a whole peptide. And then that peptide in itself has an impact on the body in an enzyme in a way that it can actually help. So that's really intriguing as well. There is an article on the heart health, and that I'll find it and send it to you, because it is really intriguing of how that works. So.
Because what's the other types of protein that are quite popular on the market?
So you can get whey isolate, which has been broken right down. You can get whey concentrate. You can get, and then you've obviously got your plant-based ones where you can have like your rice protein. Hemp is a popular one, not so much here in Australia. You can get pea protein. So there's various ones that you can get, but generally most people will say your whey protein, basically with the whey isolate, it is absorbed really quickly. So a lot of people that are doing bodybuilding and training and things like that. It's the sort that they have straight after training so that it's taken up into the body really quickly and absorbed. Whereas things like your whey concentrate aren't broken down quite as much, and so then your body, it takes a little bit longer. And I know with the isogenics that we have is that it does have a variety, so that it is actually lasts a little bit longer, so that you can actually, it keeps you that little bit full. So it has a breakdown. It does have some of the concentrate, and it does have some milk proteins in there as well, so that you actually do have that little bit fullness for a bit longer as well, so that you get that satiety. So it's really interesting.
And what's the sort of in terms of intake that we're talking about that would benefit most people? I think you mentioned that the protein intake requirement is different between different people, but is there sort of like a rough estimate calculation?
Yeah, they do basically say, so they usually say the minimum that people should have per day, like absolute baseline minute, is more 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight. But there has been research to say that higher amounts of that can be beneficial. Particularly when there's actually been a study done to show enhanced performance of people having 2 grams, like people that are training, and then they have improvements in strength, endurance, flexibilities just by having 2 grams of protein per kilo per day. So I guess it depends on the individual and what you're doing and your exercise levels and things like that. But I sort of generally recommend for most people to look at least like the 1 gram per kilo per day, but up to 2 if you're sort of active and things like that. And I guess it's again, it's making sure that your body is getting enough so that your cells can do everything that they need to, that you're not actually lacking. And I guess another important thing to think about, and this is something that I often get my clients to do, is to make sure also the body can only store a certain amount of protein. So we can store a lot of fat. We all know that fat, and that's where it is. It's a survival thing, but we can store plenty of calories in fat. We can store a certain amount of carbohydrates, but a lot of that does go into muscle mass and things like that, or gets converted to fat. But in terms of our amino acids, which are the building blocks of protein, we can only store it. There's only a pool of them that can store, the body can only store so much. So once they're depleted and we've utilized them in some sort of way, they need to be replenished. Now, if we don't replenish them through food, where the body, from the ones the body can't, then it has to break down other muscles or different parts of the body to get them. So that's why it is actually important that we do have a constant intake of protein over the day as well. So that's, I guess, one thing where people are having, like, carbs, high carb for breakfast and different things. And then they sit down to their big meal at night, but they may only be getting quality protein then at one meal. So that's why, and particularly then overnight, the body is doing a lot of cellular restructuring and building and things like that, and using a lot of that protein. And so that's why having something protein dense first thing in the morning is really important, because those stores have all been depleted. So having something that you're really replenishing them first thing in the morning, so then the body can continue going on through the day and rebuilding, because our cells, as you know, are always changing over and building and creating new ones. So they need the nutrients there to be able to do it. So having protein regularly over the day is really important as well, so that our body has got those stores and not having to take them from other parts of our body to be able to do what it needs to.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. And I actually have done calorie counting. I mean, I'm sort of quite interested now in looking at what things contain. And it's actually really difficult to get the adequate protein intake just from food, I would say, which is why I make sure I have that 1 shake a day, because then I'm like, well, I've got that, is it 24 grams of protein? In that one hit. And then it's not so hard to make up for it in the food choices.
I know, and that's it. Like, you look at it there, so you get 24 grams in that 1 shake, plus you get your healthy fats and your low GI carbs and your vitamins and minerals, pre and probiotics. But to have that, in terms of, you'd have to eat like 4 eggs to get the same amount.
I know. That's right. Yeah, I have looked, yes.
Yeah, and I mean, who's going to sit down and eat 4 eggs, particularly just by themselves, to get that amount of protein?
Yeah, your cholesterol will be through the roof.
Exactly. So it is a good way of just making it. I mean, I'm all for eggs, don't get me wrong, and I mean, they're great for lunch or a snack or something like that. But it is good to get that good amount in there that's in that fantastic form, and then have your snacks that have got protein in it, a healthy lunch, a healthy dinner, or whichever way you choose to do it, so that you're then replenishing with good healthy foods, your vitamins and your minerals, your salads, all your different coloured foods and things like that, and just that constant replenishment over the day. So the body, because it can only build what it's got there to build with. And so if it isn't getting the vitamins and minerals and all those different things, it can only do so much. It's a bit like, I guess, trying to build a house but not having all your tools, and trying to put a nail in but you haven't got your hammer.
No, that makes sense. No, I actually didn't really think about analyzed protein, I mean, as an all over thing, but it just makes complete sense. I think it's just something that no one really thinks about unless they're like yourself, talking about it every day.
Oh, definitely. And a lot of people don't understand nutrition, and I totally understand why they don't, because it can be a minefield, and there's so many people out there that are always like, you should eat this diet, you shouldn't eat that, oh, you must have this, no, don't do that. And I can understand why people just go, you know what, this is all too hard, like it's too confusing, no matter what I eat, it's wrong, I may as well just go and buy whatever.
Enjoy life, exactly.
I'm all about enjoying life, and I definitely say to my clients, don't ever deprive yourself and say, well, you can't have this. But if you're putting, it's like the 80-20 rule. If you're putting really good quality food in for 80% of the time, the other 20% is probably not going to matter so much in terms of body composition, because we do still have to live, and we still need to enjoy and have those occasional treats and all those type of things. So
and I think I mean, for Melbourne people, it would sort of a bit of a wake-up call, because I think, we've been locked down twice, or this is the second time, and a lot of people have resorted to increase alcohol intake. Well, most people I know, including myself. And I was probably doing, had a really bad mentality about it, because I know how many calories, like I sort of watch my weight, but I almost was trying to compensate for the liquid calories and not eat food calories, because I knew how much a glass of wine is. And then, as you said, it's okay to do once in a while, but when you're doing it every day for a few weeks, it's like, it takes its toll. You can tell.
Oh, definitely. And I mean, that's the thing, by taking out those extra calories, you're also taking out those extra nutrients. So if you're sort of going, well, I'm not going to have these extra bits of fruit or something like that because of their calories, you might be having the sugars from them, but you also might be missing out on so many essential nutrients, which generally you're probably not getting from the wine.
No, I looked up Shiraz. It's like 100% carbs and no fat, no protein. So no, it's not good. It's not good.
No. Occasionally, but no, definitely, and that's it, because there are so many vitamins and minerals and trace minerals and things like that we do need just for the different functions of the cells. So if you're not having a good quality diet, and you're cutting things out and having more just your carb-based things, well, chances of you actually having those nutrients is pretty slim. So again, it's a bit like the cells going, well, we're trying to do this, but it's hard when they're lacking all the different components they need. So
no, makes sense.